Germany is very active in MOOCs now, and not only in German, but also in English. And this is very interesting, developing platforms, etc. Platforms that other countries can use. This is great. We see normally in our research that the countries that are developing most in open education are the countries that have some sort of national policy in one way or another, or have had in the past, be it funding-wise or just arguing for it in one way or another for universities. It tends to motivate universities to go ahead and do something about it. Many university managers, I think they are starting to see perspectives, where they can go with this type of initiative. And we see that certain universities decide to focus on different things, Some of them decide to focus on teaching methods and explore that. Others start to focus on developing courses that will be helpful for the communities they are at, So if it's a more agricultural, rural area, they'll try and open up courses that will be beneficial for the community around that area if their goal is to be locally helpful, let's say. So it's interesting because managers or university rectors and vice chancellors, they can really now start seeing strategies in which to focus on and see the affordances, let's say, of open education. And yes, we see it happening very often. When we include in open education the dimension of access, for example, then we are talking about lowering the barriers for studying. That means being able to study without being formally registered, being able to study paying no fees, or in extreme cases, a very small symbolic fee to pay for something that you're getting out of it, be it a certificate or whatever that has some value. It has to do really with opening up pedagogies, so one teacher can see how the other teacher teaches perhaps the same subject, so they can learn and improve their teaching practices from that. It has to do with accessibility, which is different from access, which means having content available online in a way that physically challenged people can also study. People who cannot hear or cannot see, if you make content available in a way that is more embracing, that is made available in a way that more people can use them. This is really opening up. So there are many different ways to open up education, which goes beyond offering MOOCs and OER. So certainly they are the driving force. They are what we call the core. Content is one of the core dimensions, And then we have what we call the transversal dimensions, everything that gives support for open education to happen. And that's for sure the institutional strategies. The institution has to be really supporting the individuals, the teachers, and the learners who are part of this process. There are always enablers and challenges for opening up education. One of the enablers that we know that is actually a motivation for opening up education is that universities tend to go more global. They are more visible, let's say. Even if they are already global, because they're putting online their content, they're showing their pedagogical practices, this tends to bring a lot of attention to the university, and quite often it enhances their reputation, and of course depending on how good they are on what they're doing. So I'd say that this is normally a motivation for a university, because if they show they are doing a good job, they can actually attract more students. Someone goes there, try a course as a taster and say, okay, I like it, I like this teacher, I like the way they teach, I'm going to enroll. So they can actually increase their reputation and attract more students. Normally, this is one of the motivations for universities. Also to make knowledge available for free. This is normally in line with their mission. But then there are challenges, and we have to say, everything that is new, it's groundbreaking, brings challenges. Quite often, it is to define a business model, how to make it financially sustainable for an institution. We know that often the universities invest money in developing MOOCs, for example, in creating platforms for interacting with learners worldwide, etc. But sometimes they find it a bit complicated to find the return in their investment, let's say. We know there are very successful models already. It's up to each institution to decide how they are going about it. Some of them integrate open education into their day-to-day business model, let's say. Others look for funding elsewhere in order to find their own model later on. But we know this is one of the biggest challenges. So at an institutional level, I'd say that finding the perfect strategy and the business model at the moment still seems to be one of the main challenges.